What is up, everybody? Today I wanted to shoot a quick fun video about the injuries that I sustained during my last ultramarathon 100-miler, which was the Vermont 100. We're about 2 weeks removed from the Vermont 100, so everything's starting to heal back up. My body is absolutely itching to get it back out on the roads, get back on the trails, and get some running done. But I'm taking an extended rest period just because in about 10 weeks, we have the Yeti 100. So I'm letting my body absorb all the training I did leading up to the Vermont 100 and the training effect actually running the Vermont 100. Let my body absorb everything and then do a nice build up to that Yeti 100. I know that I did a little bit of overtraining for the Vermont 100. I did 3, 100-mile weeks, got pneumonia. You can watch some videos on my YouTube channel about the actual lead up to the Vermont 100. I pushed it really hard and I paid for it on course. My legs blew up and I kind of overtrained. So I'm letting my body really recover and absorb all that training before I get back into it, start building back up for the Yeti 100. So everything's starting to feel really, really good. But I thought it would be fun just to kind of go over the little injuries that I got while running a 100-mile race. Now, these injuries are going to be completely different from person to person, based on your experience level, based on your gear, based on whatever might possibly happen on course. You could be a pro level runner and have just a terrible day, hit a rock, smash your face, or you could be a brand new, first time running a 100-miler and get out scot-free and be running in a week. I mean, during the Grindstone 100, that was my first ever 100-miler. I wasn't properly trained and I absolutely paid for it. My knees were absolutely destroyed. My legs felt like crap for about 3 months. And then, my mental status or my mental state didn't really get back to normal until 6 months after that actual race. So I went in unprepared, overconfident, and I really paid for it. Now, this is my third 100-miler and I did a bunch of 50-milers, 100Ks, and other shorter course ultramarathons. So my body got used to it. I got the experience. I got the mileage on my legs and I pretty much bounced back within a week. So let's jump right into it and let's start at the surface level injuries that I got from the Vermont 100. Most of these first actual injuries are just kind of chafing. Their surface level. They really started healing up within the first 2 or 3 days, and they're all basically healed 2 weeks after the Vermont 100. So let's start top down and we'll start with my collarbone. I got some really aggressive chafing just because of a new vest that I was trying out for this 100-miler. It's the Sense Pro from Solomon, the Sense Pro 5, and I should have done a lot more training runs with this vest on. I did a 20-miler and like a 25-miler, so I thought it would be good, but I added in a little bit extra weight just because you usually carry a lot more for these 100-milers. So the extra weight and then the extra distance definitely brought up a lot of different little quirks of this vest that really started rubbing me raw. So I started with this vest on. It was fully loaded up, and man, it was just kind of this neck portion of it was really rubbing on my neck. And then all the pressure from this vest was going straight to my collarbone right here. If you can see on this picture, this was about maybe 2 or 3 days after the Vermont 100. Right here is where it's all inflamed. And then you got that big chafing mark right on the collarbone. And it was so freaking annoying during the race when I was running. It started probably around mile 25 to mile 30, right after the amount of time that I actually tested this stupid vest in. So right after that 25-mile mark where I did my test run in is when it really started chafing me. And it just felt like this vest was just kind of cutting into my neck to the point where I had to fully drop it. So I left this vest at mile 50 in one of my drop bags, and I stuffed everything that I had in my naked belt. So that was number one, that chafing on my collarbone, just right there. It was actually like bleeding. I relooked at my tank top that I was wearing, my Ultra Red Team tank top, and there was little blood marks all over all over the white portion of my shirt. It was pretty nasty, but I made it work. I adapted to the situation. I dropped that pack and stuffed everything in my naked belt and moved on, and it was completely fine. It actually helped me out a little bit better because I was able to mitigate the heat, let my body air out a lot more. So moving on to the second and third surface injury that I got from the Vermont 100, and it was 100% because of these stupid Go Faster sleeves. They're just like the runner sleeves that you see a lot of marathon runners and other people wearing. They help cool your body down and absorb some of that moisture, hold it on there and cool you as the wind hits it. But you kind of just, bring them up here. They have this elastic band so it doesn't drip down or it doesn't slide down while you're running. And, it felt cool, felt like a freaking superhero or some crap. And then when you're running, it freaking rubs right there. Right where this stupid elastic is, it's basically like sandpaper, and it just ripped me up. It freaking ripped me up the entire time. So on both sides of my arms, because of these stupid sleeves, I got a huge chafing mark here and a huge chafing mark on the other side right here. It was probably around mile 20 when I felt these stupid things starting to rub the crap out of me. And then mile 30, I was about ready to throw them off the freaking face of the earth. I was going to drop them off at that drop bag, but then that drop bag was missing. So I took them off, stuffed them into my kit and just, forgot about them. I ended up dropping them off with the vest. And I left these two new pieces of gear that I've never worn during an ultramarathon in my drop bag. And I will probably never use them again. I'll probably try to return that vest, and those sleeves are just, I don't know, they might have to meet my fireplace. So the main chafing ports that I got from the Vermont 100 was, once again, my freaking collarbone. That one was bleeding. And then I got these two armpit or like lat chafing marks on my side. These were pretty juicy for the first 2 days, and then they started scabbing over. They were really annoying when they started healing because they were itchy, and then they were like flaking because it's like a really high like pressure zone with your shirts and your clothes. So I was kind of walking around in tank tops or shirtless a lot, letting them dry out and letting them heal. But those were the three big surface chafing zones that I got. I usually have a lot of chafing issues in the old beehole area, but I made sure that I had squirrel's nut butter at every one of my aid station drop bags, and probably 3 or 4 times, 2 to 3 times, I actually used this and credit card swipe myself quite aggressively as much as I could actually remember. So those were the 3 surface injuries that I got from the Vermont 100. And then I got some blisters. Now, blisters, I don't really have an issue with for some reason, probably because of my time in the military. Those military boots absolutely suck. So we get blisters all the time. And then I've been doing this ultra marathon running a lot. So I'm pretty much used to getting blisters. I never really had a problem with these blisters during the run. I really thought that I got out of the Vermont 100 without any issues, without any blisters on my feet, until I actually took off my shoes. And then I realized my toes were a little bit bubblier than I thought. So let's look at those. So this was the main big bubbly freaking blister. I know it's disgusting. I do apologize, but I got this big, massive freaking blister on my toe on my right side. And I'll talk about why I think I got a huge blister on my toe on this side a little bit later after this one. But this was a big, juicy freaking blister. I popped it right away, kind of on accident, kind of in a delirious state. I was just kind of like, okay, I need to pop this freaking blister. I popped it, went to sleep, and it immediately filled back up. It is a little strange looking right now. So that's it 2 weeks after. It's still kind of healing. It was a little bit deeper of a blister than anything. I had another blister on my other foot, kind of in the same area, but it just popped and then it dried out really quickly. That one was like not even worth mentioning. It's just your average standard blister. So I got out of the Vermont 100 pretty easy in terms of actual blisters. So let's move on to the injuries that actually kind of worried me, especially in that first week post Vermont 100. So on my foot, I had a lot of swelling in my ankles. I was really looking at this blister up here, and I didn't really even realize that I had this much swelling in my ankles until I looked at this picture and I was reviewing the pictures of my blister where my freaking ankles were swollen like a goddamn sausage. I didn't know I knew my ankles were like stiff, but I didn't realize how swollen they were. So my legs were all swollen. They started swelling up around mile 40, and then my ankles were swollen up. So in this video, you can see I'm being very careful on how I'm walking. My legs were still swollen up. My legs were locking up a lot. So it's basically locks up and it feels like you're going to fall. You're losing balance and all that. They were very sore to the touch, especially my calf muscles, just because all the ups and downs and all the hammering downhill, they really destroyed my quads and my calf muscles. So I had swollen ankles, really beat up legs, but that's pretty standard for ultra marathon running. If you're not, kind of gingerly walking after 100-mile race, you're some kind of monster. You're killing Jornet or Francois Dane or Jim Walmsley, and I think their legs get all beat up from these 100-milers. So if you are able just to walk normally after 100 miles, you are a freaking Super Saiyan ultra runner. Now, these last two injuries are the injuries that I'm still really paying attention to, making sure that I'm doing a lot of recovery for. I'm rolling them out and icing them and everything like that, just being extra cautious, and I'll be watching them as I'm introducing running in the next couple of days. So starting off with the foot, my arch right in here, the back area right here, pretty much where this diagram, I found this picture on the internet, and this is basically right where the actual pain was. So in my foot, I could feel just like pressure right there. Probably around like mile 70, it really started shooting pain in my foot. And I was like, why the hell is my foot giving me such an issue right now? I didn't feel any pain up to this point. And then I looked at the road that we were actually running on. There were mostly dirt roads, but the dirt roads were kind of domed up. Just like most unpaved roads, they're kind of domed up like this. And I was basically running on the right side of that road for 70 miles straight. So my foot was on that slope like this, just slightly on that slope. But after 70 miles, that pressure all went down to the arch of my foot right in this area. And I know this is such a stupid thing, and this is definitely something that I had to learn from actually going out and running and paying attention to what was going on. But right when I moved to the left side of the freaking road, that pressure and that pain instantly relieved itself. So I had to stick on the left side of the road for the last 30 miles, but the damage was already done. It just feels like really tight pressure. When I first got done, it was kind of like sharp shooting pain. And then as I was like recovering, as I was recovering, I was stretching it out a lot. I use this hyper ice ball a lot while I'm working at my computer. I'll just turn it on and roll my foot out, roll my arch out, and let it kind of melt over this ball and rub it out. And it's been doing absolute wonders. So if you guys ever have any issues with your foot, I strongly recommend this ball. If you don't want to drop like $100 for a stupid vibrating ball, you can always get a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball. If your feet are very sensitive, start with a tennis ball. And then once those muscles start working out and you start getting used to that actual feeling, move up to a lacrosse ball. And then if that's not enough, you can get these balls because they vibrate and they'll put extra pressure and extra like rolling goodness on your feet. This is great for all those little moving joints in your toes, in your arch, in your foot. This is one thing that I like to use a lot during my recovery for these 100-milers, because we put so much pressure on our feet for so long, and there's so many tiny moving parts in your foot that, actually paying attention to your feet is a really important thing that I strongly recommend everybody do. So my foot is getting a lot better. I'm going to keep an eye out on it, and I'm going to make sure that I'm continually rolling my feet out every single day during work, and making sure that I'm continually strengthening my feet as we move into the Yeti 100. The last injury that I got was this little tendon right on the top of my ankle, or like the front side of my foot, top ankle area. So it just feels like there's like a little bit of swelling right in this area. Usually this is like flat straight down, just like this band. But there's like a little lumpy ball, or like just like soreness right there. You can kind of see that it's inflamed. And I know exactly what actually caused this, and it was 100% again my fault and my gear choice. I chose to run the Vermont 100 in the Ultra Vanish tempos. I'm going to do a full review on these shoes later, so make sure that you guys like and subscribe, so then you can see the full review of these shoes after Ultra review of these shoes in the next coming weeks. But it was probably a mistake to actually run the Vermont 100 in these shoes. My legs were looking for something that was a lot more cushiony, especially around, mile 70, mile 80, instead of responsiveness. So these are actually set up to have this rocker, a nice big 33 millimeter stack, so they could actually press and shoot your foot forward, and it puts a lot of pressure on the top of your foot. And I don't know what it is about Ultra's new shoes and this new tongue that they're using, but I absolutely hate this tongue. I absolutely hate this tongue. It is so thin. They fixed it a little bit from the first generation of this tongue. They put a little bit more padding up here, but the laces just cut right into this portion of my foot right here, because I tighten my shoes really tight. I like a really tight fit. I like my heel really sucked into the shoe. So I make sure that I tighten my shoes quite a bit. And every single time after these ultra marathons, that little tendon just gets ate the fuck up. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with the Torn 5s and the Olympus 4s. They all have this same stupid tongue. Actually, with the Olympus 4s, I put in extra padding in the tongue because it was so bad that these shoelaces were just cutting the crap out of the top of my foot. I don't understand why they can't just put a little bit more padding in their tongue. I use the Rivera 2s a lot, and this normal standard tongue, it's awesome. I never have an issue with the Rivera 2s ever, or any other of their shoes with this tongue style. But the new tongue style, this new tongue style just eats up my foot. So that injury on the top of my foot right here, it's still giving me issues when I tighten down my shoes. It just feels like a little sore spot. It's not debilitating or anything like that. It's just really freaking annoying to have, a little sore spot exactly where your freaking shoelaces zip down on. So there you have it. Those were the injuries that I got from my last 100-mile ultra marathon. Just some good chafing marks. I got some nice scars from the Vermont 100 that will remind me while I'm running from the Yeti 100 not to choose stupid new gear to run with. Take these stupid Go Faster sleeves and throw them the fuck away. Take this stupid vest and return it and throw it the fuck away, just because those are stupid gear choices that I should have done more training in. And then, swollen legs, that's just going to happen. Blisters are just going to happen. And then for my arch, it's just understanding where you're at, being more mindful about the course that you're running on, and understanding that if you're in one position where your foot's kind of slightly off, just, thinking about where you're at and then adapting to the course. So these injuries are definitely lessons learned. I'm definitely going to be taking these lessons and putting them into my training leading up to the Yeti 100, and then also freaking while I'm running the Yeti 100 in Virginia on September 30th. We have a lot more training to do. We have a lot more lessons that we're going to be learning in the future. Probably going to have a lot more injuries in the future, just because, I learn the best when, something's smacking me in the face, or I'm falling down a hill, or I'm absolutely destroyed. That's when I'm actually learning. And that's why our whole motto is seek pain and earn comfort. Before you get all comfortable, before you enjoy some beer, some pizza, we seek pain, we look for that discomfort, because that's where we're going to actually learn our lessons. That's where we're going to learn more about ourselves, and we're going to slowly work our way to our big mission, to our big goal, with pain, with suffering, and with learning, because that's the only way we move forward is through pain. The only way we move forward is to be uncomfortable. So do not fear pain. Do not fear discomfort. Get out there, fucking grind, fucking get out there, crush it. Be smart. Be smart about it, but fucking get out there and kick some fucking ass. Let's do it. Let's do it together. See you at Yeti 100.